This is a top-down view of two 4-foot HO train modules. And during the construction, there's a styrene spacer between them to make allowance for cuts later on. The first step is buffing the 3-inch connecting rails with a grinding tool just to make sure there's a fresh surface for flux and solder later on. But the next step is going to be mixing this two-part epoxy and applying it to the ties and ballast along where the web of the rail will be, and that makes sure that there's a very solid adhesive surface for the rail to rest on and be very secure. So the 3-inch rail is put in place, and the rail joiners are slid onto the module rails. This can be tricky, but once they're on, the liquid flux will be applied to the rail joiner, on each of the three rail lines, and the solder will be applied on one side of the rail joiner, and the soldering iron will be near it, because what we want is for the solder to flow toward the heat of the soldering iron, and then make sure that the solder that's inside that rail joiner flows. Once the 6 rails are connected, then the grinding tool will cut each rail across, and that styrene spacer will make up for the dimension of rail that's cut. Once they're pulled apart, the rails can be filed if needed, and there's a wheel set that rolls right across. What's underneath are T-nuts with 1/4 screws, and that's what really holds it together very securely. This is a mock-up for demonstration, and the first alignment is to use a 1/4-inch dowel, drill those out, and so that they align perfectly. Then, to hold the modules together, a 1/4 screw goes right through to the T-nut on the opposite side, and it makes for a solid connection that will keep those rails right where they need to be. And another option for this type of butt splice rail connection, we'll see in a minute, are 3D printed ends for the modules. Here's one that is on 2-inch centers. They're 1.5 inches long, and they're secured at the end of the track. Rails are glued in, and there's a top-down view of what the 3D printed rail joiners look like. Thanks for watching.